So I'm heavily involved in looking at cities, and primarily cities in the global south. We're going through an unprecedented period right now of hyper-urbanization. We've moved from a population of about 50% of the world's population living in cities in the 1950s to about 54% today. And by 2030, we're going to have upwards 2/3 of the world's population living in cities. The problem is that the vast majority of the world's cities are not evenly distributed. We have growing inequality, all forms of concentrated disadvantage and poverty in many of our fastest growing cities. And so at my institute, I'm involved in trying to look at ways of redressing some of these challenges, some of the big difficulties that our big cities are facing. So I suppose you could divide my work into three big areas. The first big area is around designing data visualization tools and platforms to better understand the complexities in our cities. Working with Carnegie Mellon University's Create Lab, which is a group of AI engineers and robotics engineers, we've been designing satellite imagery tools superimposed with socioeconomic data and climate data to give a highly granular understanding of the kinds of mega threats that our cities are facing. So we've been presenting this, it's called earthtime.org, at venues all over the world to try to help citizens who are central in reviving our cities and ensuring that our cities thrive and are livable in better understanding the kinds of risks they're facing, but also helping them to activate on ways of developing solutions. So what we were able to show are things like rising sea levels and the ways that 2/3 of our world cities are going to be affected by rising seas. We're able to show changes in the climate in terms of the concentration of pollutants in our atmospheres and the ways that our cities are becoming asphyxiated by carbon emissions and other greenhouse gases. We're able to show distribution of violence and insecurity around the world in our cities. As we know, in Latin America, we have extraordinarily violent cities. In fact, 43 of the 50 most violent cities in the world are right here in Latin America. So we're able to show the distribution of homicide, both real and real crime, but also perceived crime. On top of that, we're able to show a whole other range of factors around urban mobility, around digital transformation, around cybersecurity, all of which are going to be big challenges for cities of tomorrow. So that's one basket of projects. I'm also working with a number of large companies like Google and IBM and Siemens and others to really understand ways of developing CivTech and GovTech to help cities be able to reverse some of the challenges that they're facing. We're specifically working in the security space. So for example, in the last couple of years, we've been developing open source body cameras that run off telephones to help improve accountability amongst police. It's a technology called Copcast, which we're testing in Brazil, South Africa, as well as in the United States. We've also designed predictive crime analytics, developing algorithms to understand the distribution of crime in different geographic areas. Because in any city, whether it's in Mexico City and Puebla, or whether it's in New York or London, crime is just highly concentrated in specific areas, at specific times, and amongst specific populations. So by developing mathematical formulas, we're able to anticipate crime before it happens, a bit like a weather forecast. And finally, I'm working with city authorities and mayors around the world to help them come up with strategic plans, a vision, metrics, goals, ways of thinking about integrated urban planning. Because there is no such thing as an archetype of, smart city. All cities are working towards being smart. There is no golden city. But what we have to do is help cities learn from other cities about what works and, most importantly, what doesn't work. So I'm working as an advisor to different mayors around the world to help them come up with innovative solutions, but also to borrow and steal when necessary good ideas.